Welcome to Permission to Kick Ass, the show that gives you a virtual seat at the bar for the real conversations that happen between entrepreneurs. I'm interviewing all kinds of business owners, from those just a few years into freelancing to CEOs helming 9-figure companies. If you've ever worried that everyone else just seems to get it and you're missing something or messing things up, this show is for you. I'm your host, Angie Coley, and let's get to it. Hey, and welcome back to Permission to Kick Ass. With me today is my new friend, Orla Fitzmaurice. Say hi.
Hi.
You know what? Before I get down the rabbit hole, just tell us a little bit about what you do and what brought you here today.
So I am a web and graphic designer. I am living in Ireland and I concentrate mainly on helping women to create sustainable self-employment. So not self-employment that's going to burn them out, self-employment that feels like it's going to nourish them. And a lot of my work is done through live one-to-one sessions. So they're seeing the work being done live on my computer as it's happening.
Is that the design work you're doing live with them on the computer?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Is that intimidating to like have somebody watch over your shoulder? I can't have people watch me write.
No, not at all. You think it would be, but it's funny because I've been a custom web designer for, I think, like 20, 25 years at this stage. And as technology's progressed and all the rest of it, like, I guess I've been doing it so long that it's more natural to me. And it was post my diagnosis with ADHD as well a couple of years ago. I found the big, long projects it had been draining me. I hadn't realized. And that was when I kind of decided to change it. And it turns out I thrive in chaos. So I really thrive in the chaos. And, like when you're designing with someone in front of you and you see their facial expressions and because a lot of people, especially in Ireland now, I don't know if this is a cultural thing too, they'll say they'll say one thing to please you, but you can see it in their face. They're like, that's not the right direction. Let's amend here. And then you can see it when they're like, oh my God, that's exactly what I wanted. So it's really exciting and it's fun and it's really interactive and it's actually a lot lighter, I find. And the work is done way faster.
Ooh, that's such an interesting approach. And I think for a couple of reasons, because I think there's a lot of ADHD listeners to this show just by nature of who I am. But one, we tend to be hyper aware of other people's like energetic states, facial expressions, changes in like shift in posture, stuff like that. We're hyper aware. Yeah. And then there's also this overthinking thing that I think tends to happen when you go into the cave to create.
100%. Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I've gotten to the live creation point because, like I said, I don't like writing with people. There's something about like my fingers just stop working. I can type upwards of like 70, 80 words a minute. But if somebody is watching me type on a screen, like I cannot spell for the life of me. It's ridiculous. I've learned that all of the processes that I used to use to develop copy were just like adding a whole bunch of unnecessary steps, putting space between me and the client, and then leaving me by myself to overthink stuff and then be completely overwhelmed when like I'd get on a review meeting with them. I could see their facial expressions. I know something's wrong, but I don't even begin to know how to unpack it. I think that's just such a cool approach.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. And it was funny because I did a course in coaching recently as well. And one guy compared it to, he's a musician, and he compared it to like when they do jazz or instrumentation. He's like, it's like everybody knows their own part and nobody knows what the other person's going to do. But somehow when they play together, it creates something completely unique every time. And that's what it feels like. It's like, I know the web design bit. I know what it takes to get your business in front of people. And the other person knows their business and they know who they are and they know what they want it to be. But no matter how many brief meetings you take, and no matter how well you spec out that design, you can't know the business like your client knows the business. And then doing it together, like it creates this something that I could never create on my own, to be honest. Like I think I can do something really great, but it's still my design perspective being overlaid. Whereas here it's a real blend, and it does. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
I love that too. I've been doing something experimental and I'm literally just about to formalize this into an offer that goes onto my site. But I've been doing an intensive with people that's basically the copy and marketing version of that. And it stemmed a lot from the conversations on the show. I'd be listening to these shows to get the show notes down, like review all of the audio chops. Hi, James, editor extraordinaire for anybody that needs him. And I'd just be going, oh, brilliant one-liner. Oh, this needs to be the title. Like I just hear you and all of my wonderful guests say such wonderful things off the cuff. And I started to get curious, like, what if I use all of these podcast interview skills I've developed, plus my years as a
Yeah.
strategist, just like asking people about their business, and just got people to talk through their marketing so that I could pull their words straight from them and turn it into marketing.
Yes.
And it happened like with a client recently. It was so much fun. I showed her website, like we redid her website, and I showed her one page, and she looks at one line and goes, it's that same thing. We're reviewing live on a call. She goes, who said that? And I was like, that's you. And she goes,
Yeah.
I sound so smart. And I was like, you are that smart. You're brilliant. I really love being able to show you that you already had the words to say what you needed to say. Somebody just needed to pull it out of you. So
I always
that's
find that as
awesome.
well. Like the words are always there, but they're never the ones that they'll write down when you give them the brief form or when you ask them to describe it. They're never going to say it. It's the words when you're doing something else and they're thinking about something else, and then they just riff it off, and
Mhm.
you're just like, that is it. That's the secret sauce.
Exactly. I wonder, this just has me curious. So like we're going to follow this shiny rabbit hole. Do you think it has anything to do with kind of being able to get into a flow state a little bit easier when there's almost like an audience or a collaboration going versus by yourself?
I think there is the case of that, and being able to get into a flow state. I can definitely get into a flow state on my own too. I mean, for sure, like hyper focus in, but there's something magic that happens when I'm with people though as well. And it's the reason why I actually schedule all of my face to face, my Zoom type meetings in the afternoons, because it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of my lowest energy time. Like I'm a morning person. I am like a up first thing a lark. I have to anyway with two kids, but
Mm-hmm.
outside of that, even before that. But in the afternoons when my energy dips, I find when I'm on with people, it's just like I love talking to people. I love
Mm-hmm.
chatting with people and finding out what they want and just getting really into it. So I find it like I just come on. And I think a lot of people do. We're people, everybody is. Well,
Yeah.
most people
Oh,
are. Most people are.
yeah. That's fantastic. Well, how did you, I mean, you said you've been in this for a long time. Did you always know you wanted to be a graphic designer or did you fall into it? How did that
Oh my
come about?
God. No, no. Would you believe I wanted to do archaeology in a place here called UCC. And I was kind of talked out of that because it was like, that might not be the best career. And I was always very malleable. And so I was talked into economics and finance. And when I tell anyone this, they think it's freaking hilarious because I also have dyscalculia. So I can't see or visualize or work with numbers in any way, shape, or form. But somehow I managed to get a degree in economics and finance. Yeah.
Dyscalculia. I thought I had a hard time with numbers, but when I met another person who described that to me, and I just went like,
Yes.
"Wow, I know I don't have dyslexia, but I know sometimes I transpose words and then have a moment of like, wait, what was that? No, that was a completely different word. I can't imagine getting an economics degree with
I
that
know.
going on. Oh goodness,
Yeah,
you're my
yeah.
hero."
I got past it. Like I got through it. Like I actually worked in finance as well for a year or two after that. Like, and it was the same thing. I got through it because I got the logic. Like so
Hmm.
I was always able to show the work. And like I'm still am like I take ridiculous amount of notes for everything. And so I was like really clear and like you could see that I had done the work. And so I always got the points for work, but the answers were always wrong. And it used to drive my boss in finance crazy. He was like, you've done it all perfectly. What is wrong with this?
Oh goodness. Yeah, I feel like as I've gotten older, I used to be like a stickler for details for grammar. I was that sorry, guys, don't at me. I was that asshole that was online correcting people's grammar. And since then I've had the fortune to meet lovely people with dyscalculia, dyslexia, and I've come to understand that like guys, if somebody can't spell, if somebody can't math, that has nothing to do with their intellect. It has nothing to do
Yeah.
with their value as a person. Like maybe stop being a jackass. All right, random rant over.
Yeah, my partner's still a total stickler for the for grammar, and so he pulls me up at times. But then I have pushed back the whole time because I'm like, sometimes when I write a certain way, it's because there's a reason for the need for that expression, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about that comma. It's not
Yes.
right for me.
Exactly. Oh, I had that experience last year when I had a friend who wanted to help with editing and proofreading my book. And a lot of the changes that she made, which I mean, like, I don't fault her for this. This is her style, right? But was to formalize things a little bit more, make it a little bit more professional. And I was like, no, I chose those words with intent. Every single word that made it onto that page is intentional. And like, yeah, a bit wordy. We could probably afford to cut it down a little bit, but like change the language, I don't think so. Said with all of the love. Hi, you're out there and you know who you are. I adore you.
Oh, look, I'm the same. Like when Phil, I ask him to read over sometimes, not every time. Sometimes I'm like, I don't need an editor today. Thank you.
Yep.
Sometimes
Yep.
I ask him to read over and I appreciate it. And I keep some of them, but others like, no, that just changes the feel I want from this. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
like all of art, I guess, but writing is just another art. And some of it has to have creative expression.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's that individual expression that actually makes it make a difference, that helps
Mm.
people really resonate with something. I want to go back for a second to archaeology. Like, how deep into that did you go? Was it just an interest, or have you always kind of kept up with it, even though you didn't do it formally?
No, I haven't. I loved history. I loved history, and it was my top subject in school. So I got top marks when I came out from. For us, it's the leaving cert. So that's why I had assumed that I would like to do that. But no, I didn't keep up with it. I went through the economics of finance. I loved the economics. Again, there's great logic in economics. And now it's funny for a good, I think, 20 years, maybe less. I was like, why did I do that? Like, I knew that that was not something I wanted to do. It was a crazy thing to do. And I just allowed myself to just be like, yeah, I'll go the direction of the right thing to do. But now I'm finding myself going back more and more into economics as I become more, I guess, socially aware and I suppose socially active. I find myself leaning back more and more on my economics degree and I'm enjoying it more. But like, yeah. So it's just interesting to see how things can come full circle. Things that you think you might
Oh,
never use come back.
oh, absolutely. For the longest time, after I fell into the world of copywriting and marketing strategy, I wouldn't tell people about my master's degree. Right. And I don't say that to be fancy schmancy or anything like that, but I do have a master's degree and it's a weird hybrid creative business degree from Carnegie Mellon. And it was meant to be for the entertainment industry. Like the gap
Very
between
cool.
bridging the gap between the people who would go, it's called show business, not show art, and the people that are, you don't have a business without the art. Right. So they needed somebody to understand the value of both the business perspective and the creative side. I loved that degree. And also, I was telling another guest just a couple weeks ago, I beat myself up for the longest time because I got good marks, but there were a lot of things that just didn't make sense to me until I went out and
Yeah.
started a business of my own. Like my brain just doesn't seem to be able to process high concept stuff without like tangible examples from my own life.
Yes, definitely. I would totally agree with that as well. I'm the exact
Mm-hmm.
same.
Oh goodness. Um, the reason that I took it back to archaeology and I got really curious about that was like, I wonder if there's a parallel, and this is total creative brain at play, between like you're helping people dig up their vision for their website and like it's all fit together all along.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I say that I didn't keep up with archaeology, but I had a project that I started before I even was doing web design as a service, and that was called cottageology, and it was all around like preserving and restoring Irish cottages because there's no protection for cottages in Ireland. They would be our traditional vernacular architecture, as in they would be the types of dwellings that would have been made by hands of the local people, with the materials that are available locally to them, but there's no protections for them. So I had started that a long time ago. And one particular project that I took on with it was going back and finding all of the old streets that were the old city cottages in Dublin, the Dublin City Cottages project. And it was so fascinating. And there was a kind of an archaeological element to it because, of course, a lot of them have been replaced with like high rises and all the rest of it. So it was like finding images of the old streets or finding references to them on old books and then overlaying maps on top of each other to show how the area had progressed. So that was utterly fascinating. So I said I didn't, but actually all these things weave in and out over the years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like exactly like I said, with getting that degree, I've come to realize since then, right? So I thought I was going to be Shonda. I was going to be Shonda Rhimes. I wanted to create worlds and run my own shows, and I loved television and film and everything about it. And then I got laid off by the Oprah Winfrey Network. Sorry, Oprah. We've got beef, but you can fix it by putting me on your favorite things list. I fell into copywriting when I couldn't get another job in TV development. And it's been 14 years, and I found that I had a passion and a skill for that. And it's been really fun. And it took me until a couple years ago to realize, like, oh, creative business degree, copywriting,
Yes.
all the graphic designers and the photographers that I know, all of the artists, like creative business degree. It's not just, I can't help it, guys. Sometimes I'm slow.
I think we all are. And nothing makes sense until we look back. You know, it doesn't make sense at the time. Often, like, I've felt like my whole career has been like this weird, like jumping around the place to all these different things and all out of control. And there's something wrong with me and all the rest of that. And it's like, now I'm looking back and I'm like, no, that economics and finance degree is awesome. Like,
Yes.
why were you so down on that?
Every step I took gave me a different piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And when I take time to look back, and I think that's the key, when I take time to look back, I've got a much clearer vision because more of the pieces are now into place. Where I think we get into danger, and I think I've mentioned this on the show before, is entrepreneurship is very forward looking, right? Like you've got the vision, you got to reverse engineer from the 10-year plan, the 5-year plan to where you are today so that you know what you're doing next. But while we're focused on those future steps and everything we got to do today to bring about that future, we forget to turn around and look behind us and go, oh, look at how far I've come, right? And look at all the people that are coming up after me who are, they're aiming for me, you know, not in a take you out sense, but like they're aiming for me because I'm their model of who they want to be. While I'm looking at this other person over here and going, I'll never be there. They're looking at me like that. I don't know. To me, that's just a great reminder from time to time to go, oh, yeah.
I actually run this course as well on CBT for adult ADHD with the psychotherapist. And that is the one thing that fascinates me with every person on the course, right? It starts like it's an 8-week long course and it starts at the start and it's like, everyone is so down about themselves and it's all so hard and all that, you know, yourself, not people not having been diagnosed yet or very recently diagnosed, all in adulthood. So carrying all that baggage. And if I had only known when I was younger, and they'll be like, oh, my life is such a mess. And if I had only known, and honestly, nearly by the end of the course, every single one of them will have unfolded like a flower and they have the most incredible experiences. I mean, like, oh yes, I was an astronaut for NASA and they'll be like, my life is a mess and I've wasted it all. And you're sitting there going, your life is incredible. Look at all these strands, every single one of them. I don't think there's one person I've met on that course over, I don't know, we've done it for a good few years now, that hasn't fascinated me. And they're just pushed and they can't see it themselves.
Exactly. This is yet another reason why I love having these conversations, like both the podcast conversations and the new work that I've been doing with the clients is, I call it, like, at the risk of being overly poetic, I get to be this awesomeness mirror, just reflecting your own awesomeness right back at you and being like, do you not see how fucking cool you are? I see it. Let me show you. And I've teared up on some of these episodes. I've teared up on some of these calls, just going like, it feels good to make people feel good. So trolls, internet trolls out there, like, maybe try going out and making people feel good instead of feel like shit. There's a strategy for you.
Absolutely. That fascinates me. It's like, why? I mean, clearly, not just trolls, but people who, you know, we'll say hackers, and with the amount of intelligence they have and with the amount of like social awareness they have, because they do to a certain degree to manipulate in that way. Oh my gosh, the world needs you to do good things. Please bring your skills to do good things.
Well, yeah, and we won't get into the pathology of that. Some people just live to create chaos and destruction. And I guess that's part of life's balance, right? We can't all think the same or operate the same, but
some people do. But I think like the hurt people. Like there's no bad person, you know, so there's just somebody who has an experience that led them here, but they can change that. You know, like I definitely like have this whole thing about like this invisible minds thing, like where, you know, so many of these minds in this world, like I think every single person has such unlimited potential. Like there's a spark of genius in every single person, including the people who do bad. It's just they've had bad experience or they've been funneled in the wrong direction. And we have so many people working crappy ass jobs that could do incredible things, but the world's just not built to optimize for them for a good environment for humans. It really isn't. And so it's no surprise when we get people doing things that are way off center like that.
Yeah. Oh God, it was amazing. Like, I'm not going to go too down the road into politics, but I do remember reading this one story a while back that was inspiring. I think it was during the pandemic or something like that. A lot of the inmates in one particular prison were able to bank extra money for whatever reason. And because they're no longer competing for resources, because some people have more money than others, everybody can afford to live. The crime rate inside the prison went down, like the violence, the theft, anything like that. And I was like, it's interesting to me how greed kind of plays a role in this. Like, gosh, we're going deep into it now. But like this tendency to hoard everything and guard it against theft versus this generosity and making sure everybody has enough, which is actually the crime deterrent and the lessener. Right?
Absolutely. And it's not that we always want to be looking back, because I mean, I think like obviously things are so much better now, you know, like objectively things are better. But like when I think back to the cottages, for example, like vernacular architecture in Ireland, back in the day, and there was a lot of things wrong in Ireland back then. I don't want to paint a rosy picture, but when you needed a house, your community came together and everyone worked together to build your house. When you were at the stage where you needed a home and your neighbors came and they brought what they had, and then you would go and you would build the house for their child when it came their time. And now we have people just hoarding houses, you know, like when did we turn houses into investments? And I'm not saying that to give out about the people who invest in them, but to give out about the systems that facilitate a home being a source of passive income. It should never be their homes.
Yes.
You know, and there's so many people homeless. Like, so these just a society, there's just a lot gone awry in society.
Like way far sideways. Absolutely agree with you on that score. I'm not going to go down that path. I can rant on that for days. Okay, so we're going to go all the way back to the beginning. You told me that you've been doing this for over 20 years now, this graphic design, right? What was that progression like for you building the business? Like, I know that that's kind of a high level question, but like the learning curve, how did you get from beginner to now?
Oh, you know, I guess like how most people get into graphic design, I would say. So I had a long path before that, even from the economics and finance and so I went through a good few different things. I ended up working as an architectural technician for a few years. I mean, I moved through so many different paths before I got here, but it was setting up a company with a friend of mine. Oh my gosh. What is the name of it? Oh, Buyer's Broker. Yeah, God, it's like that long ago. Yeah, it was like still one of my best friends. We set up this company, Buyer's Broker. We needed a website. Like websites back then cost a fortune. It was all custom HTML. It was just plain vanilla HTML and CSS. And it's like, I need this website. So I was like, bet I could figure this out. I'm just going to go figure it out. And in the process of figuring it out, a couple of other people needed websites, so I started just helping them out, and this was great fun. So it just progressed from there. And I mean, over the years, I did like an interactive media course, which I loved. So that introduced me to a lot of the different elements then, like a full year-long interactive media. And then a couple of years after that, I did like a postgraduate a year-long course again on innovation management, business innovation management. Yeah, business innovation management, that's right. And so it's been a progression along the way of just continuous learning, continuous moving, which you have to do in any design role, but any technical design role especially, you've got no choice, you know. Like even now, you know, I don't feel stressed about AI coming on. I'm like, bring it on. This is great. Like this is something new that I have to learn now and move it another direction. And I use it judiciously with the work that I do. So it's like, yeah, it gets us to where we need to get to faster, because I mostly work with people at the very early stages. So they don't have big budgets. They don't have them. I'd love if I could get a copywriter in for every single project, or like a branding designer for every project, but that's not possible at lower budgets. It's not possible when people are getting started. So it's just really, really interesting to be able to use all these tools. And that formed a big part of it was that I needed to change how I worked. Not only did I get the diagnosis with ADHD, I also had become a mum. And so, you know, like maternity, when you're self-employed and the sole income earner for your family, is no joke. No joke. So everything needed to change. And so this technology was advancing so much that I could do this work live. Like without the advent of things like Canva, without the advent of tools that move us along, like WordPress even was so fast, but I moved into Squarespace because I had been a custom web designer with WordPress for so long, I can't remember. But moving into other platforms allowed me to build fast, iteratively, and allowed me to hand control over to my clients,
Mhm.
which is what's made this possible.
Oh, I love that perspective shift too, because there is, I mean, we all know that there's a lot of fear around AI and how it could replace jobs. And I'm not here to downplay that. I'm not here to say it's not true. It's like any other revolution that we've been through, from when the automobile came about to, when the internet came about. These are disruptive things. Even when the cell phones came out and the smartphones, like I remember going in grad school from having a Palm Pilot, a little handheld scheduling device, to the first iterations of smartphones, and like how fast things have progressed since then. Like, talk about industries that have gone under. Those kinds of personal planners just don't exist anymore because we've already got tools that handle all of that. Right. So I don't mean to make light of that. And I know I'm kind of like all over the places I'm saying this, but there's creative ways for these new problems to be solved. Like, I know I hired a designer who creates Canva graphics for me. All of the show notes that I do for Permission to Kick Ass are Canva graphics that she designs. The book cover she designed in Canva. And it's like, so there's a space where these two things coincide, because I have no desire to get into Canva and figure out color palettes and margins and no. I need a pro.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
for the things that I can do myself or that my team can do, like changing out the numbers of an episode and a picture and a title, then yeah, let's do that. Let's make this a lot easier, reduce some of the back and forth, some of the grunt work that, like nobody
Yeah.
wants to change all of that stuff. It's such a, yeah.
And it is like AI is coming for a lot of jobs. Like yourself, I don't want to downplay it either. It is scary, but
Mm-hmm.
it is inevitable in another way. And again, just like the housing thing, it is down to our governments in order
Yes.
to protect people here. This is not an individual battle, so it is down to the governments to rein a lot of this in, to provide social protections for the people who will be harmed by this, because there will be people. But everybody has the choice to try and move with it too. No, I'm actually going to take back choice. We have no choice. It's here.
Yeah.
There's no going back, so like all of these
Mm-hmm.
things. But I find it
Yeah.
exciting.
I think
Parts
so
of it
too.
exciting.
Yeah. And like, there's the fear there. And I was just talking to a client about this the other day. I can't remember where I heard the quote. So if you're listening to this and you want to write in and tell me where this quote comes from, I would be grateful. The difference between fear and excitement is the breath. And I believe that,
Yes.
because I can feel the same sensations in my body when I'm terrified as I do when I'm getting ready to walk out onto a stage and like I'm excited to sing for people. The breath, like
Yeah.
it's all the same stuff. You're already familiar with it. And I say that to say this: you can reframe how you're feeling about this by focusing on the breath, by going, okay, I hear you. This is scary and intimidating. How can I make this work for me? Instead of, what am I going to do now? Why is this
Yeah.
happening? Talk about a useless question. Why is this happening?
Yeah. And I mean, I have no doubt, like it's coming for me. I'm web design, graphic design. I mean, it's already here for me. It's already taking huge weights of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, there's something, again, magic about doing the live work that's face to face,
Yes.
that's people to people. And no machine can get that yet. I don't think that's going to come for a long time. And that's where I bring my magic and my
Yeah.
client brings their magic. And there's no replacing that right now, thankfully.
Thankfully. Yeah. Well, I mean, like there's plenty of templates and stuff like that out there, and maybe it's just me and my spectacular ability to find ingenious ways to fuck things up, right? They can bring me a beautiful template and I'm going to drag some margin over and screw up the entire thing and then not be able to figure out how to put it back. And I will spend hours raging at this template. Whereas working with somebody like you live, I go, what did I do? How do I put it back?
Yeah.
And you go, take it over. And we're over it in 30 seconds. Like, I will always be somebody that prefers to work with people as much as possible.
But I'm a web designer, and honestly, when it comes to like doing my own website, it is the thing I hate doing the most in the world because doing my own work, it tends to be, it's a whole other ball game. When I'm my own client, I'm my worst client. My website's always the last thing that gets done. Like I love doing this with other people. So like there's so many elements to design that we don't even think about. And that's part of it too, so it is always having somebody else give you that perspective, take you out of your own head, even when it's for yourself, is really valuable.
Oh God, I've talked to so many people because that's part of the work that I do with that offer that I told you about. I always tell them, welcome to the Cobbler's Kids Club. Like,
Yes.
we're over
Cobbler's
here
Kids
not wearing
Club.
any damn shoes because we're too busy making them for everybody else. And I even
Yeah.
had my coach tell me, when I was feeling nervous at the beginning of this year about making sales, because before I'd always been referral based, but like a lot of folks this year,
Same.
I've had to go out and learn how to make high ticket sales on my own. And it's been a wonderful learning curve, because before I've had people tell me I wasn't a salesperson. Sorry to say, I am a salesperson now, to those people that didn't believe, but whatever.
I'm not there yet. I'm all ears, girl. I'm all ears because I'm not there yet.
Well, he taught me to embrace the imperfection, and like in my case, awkward. He asked me what's coming up when you have these sales calls, and I said, I just feel awkward. I don't like promoting myself like this. I know that the service is valuable, so it's not like
Yeah.
an insecurity thing. I know that I'm doing something to help people, but I just don't like talking about it. And he goes, can you
Mhm.
lean into the awkwardness? And I was like, maybe. So I tried it on the very next sales call, where I just went to somebody and was like, all right, here comes the awkward sales pitch. Look, I'll be super upfront. I don't have a slide deck. I don't have a big polished speech. That's really not how I work. Like, I'm not the world's best salesperson. I don't honestly give a damn about that. I give a damn about doing good work on this marketing campaign. And like, here are all the ways that I can help you. And then I gave them the rundown, like, here's what it is. Here's how it works. Here's what it costs. Let me know if you're in. And they were saying yes to that, to me not having a polished presentation and just being like, I'm turning red in the chest. And I'm like, my anxiety was palpable. But I think it was just the fact that I was upfront and genuine about it. And like, this is not, no,
Yeah.
this is not the slick
Yeah.
sales presentation.
I think people like that though, because I always find when I talk to somebody and it's not the slick sales presentation, but it feels genuine and honest, like, yeah, that's someone I feel I want to work with. I don't
Mhm.
want perfect. I mean, I'm
Exactly.
anything but perfect.
Yes.
I want to feel comfortable. It's the person. We're buying the person a lot of the time. I want to feel comfortable with this
Yes.
person. Do I feel
Yes.
heard by this person? Yeah.
Feel heard and feel supported. God, that's something that I work on with a lot of the newer folks that I coach too. It's like,
Yeah.
there's a difference between listening to respond and listening to understand.
Absolutely. Oh my
And
gosh. Yeah.
if you're listening to them just to formulate your next very witty and smart sounding answer so that they know exactly just how brilliant you are and they instantly want to buy from you, like, you're not in the conversation, you're manipulating the conversation. You're not showing your true self to the person because you're not actually present. And like, this just leads to all kinds of further communication on down the line, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And like, so a big part of web design over the years has been you have to be somewhat of a consultant and you end up in coaching territory
Yes.
just naturally by virtue of what you do. So that was why I did the coaching course this year, the basic level coaching, because I was like, okay, I need to make sure I'm not doing harm here, because there's a certain amount that you're giving advice and I want to be better at this. And then I learned that
Mm-hmm.
coaching's not about giving advice at all.
It is not.
Coaching is just about listening and being
Yes.
curious and bringing out the amazingness that's in the person. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
course was phenomenal. Like it's for me, I don't want to go into pure coaching fully, but through facilitating women becoming comfortable with their own sustainable business goals, I love it from that perspective. So
Yeah.
as a blend with what I do, I love it. But it was mind blowing to me. I mean, the course that it was amazing, but this whole idea, it is not. I hadn't made the distinction between
Mm-hmm.
consulting and coaching, which is why it's so important that people train.
Yes. Consultants tell you what to do. Coaches help you find the
Yeah.
answers that you already have.
Yes.
I was trying not to laugh while you were explaining all that, because my brain just went back to like, how is archaeology coming back up again? Like, because coaches really help you dig through all the
Yes.
shit that you've accumulated over
Yeah.
the years, all of the conflicting voices, all of the shiny object courses that you've taken as an entrepreneur, and get clear on what
Yes.
you really want and what makes sense to you and your people.
And tie those strands
Exactly.
together. Like that's what I found some of the biggest part is the really listening. And they
Yes.
can't see the strands because they're in it. Just like with the
Yes.
design, I'm in it and it's so hard to design for myself. But
Mhm.
when you can be the person who comes in from outside listening, it's like, oh, but you just said you did this a few minutes ago. It's like, oh, and I love that when everyone's like, oh,
Mhm.
oh yeah.
Oh gosh, I think this is hilarious. I'm a big fan of collaboration versus competition, and not too long
Yes.
ago, I realized that there was another marketer who was doing a very similar offer to me. Like it was an intensive experience. There's a lot of interview. There's a lot of like co-creation. And at first I had like a little mini pity party. Like somebody else found it first and they talk about it way better than I do because I suck at talking about it. Like the self-promotion thing, the not having the best perspective. And then like I had my brief, I'm talking about like 15 seconds at most worth of wallowing before I went, you know what? No, reach out to this person, start a conversation, say, hey, I'm doing something similar. If you're open to it, I'd love to ask you some questions about your offer, what you're up to, and I'd love to find out how I can promote and support you. And it turns out like we're talking about it. She's got a completely different vibe from me, even though it's the almost exact same service. She's got this wonderful, like shout out to Zafira Rajan. She's brilliant. She's got this whole like spa, tranquility, serenity, water, hot. I think she has like a cold plunge and a sauna and stuff like that. Like all of these offers that are packaged into this kind of spa imagery. And I was like, anybody that knows me knows I'm more like kick down the wall, light something on fire. This is a rock show. Like there's space for both of us to have the exact same offer because we're for really different people. Although I think it would surprise people to know I really love spas. It's like I would live in one if I could.
You all do like a nice spa. I like one too. It's very intermittent that I end up there, but I do like it.
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, where do I want to go with my next question? I mean, this is all so fascinating to me, like the conversation around not being our own best like advocates, figuring out how to position ourselves, learning all of this new technology that you talked about. Like you were talking earlier about the progression, and I know that you said you've been doing this over 20 years. How many different kinds of technology did you have to learn, would you say?
I don't know. I've never really sat down to think about it because, like I think this is again an ADHD thing. But like, I get excited when there's something new coming along.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, something new to dig my teeth into. Where's this going to take me? And it's often, like I would say, definitely 50% of the time it's a distraction, and then maybe another 30% of the time it's like could be useful but just gets forgotten about, and then like 20% of it becomes incredibly core to what you do. And so that's a small hit rate really for the amount of time that I spend discovering new things. But it does mean I'm open to a lot. And then those tangents again get pulled in, those threads get pulled in other ways. They shape your move in another direction or whatever. But I have to say, like the sales part of it, I find so hard because like you, it's so funny when you said that. I had the exact same experience before having the kids. It was all custom web design, all quite high end, but it was all referral. And it was also very high pressure, like high pressure to the point that I remember having Ruby and I had an emergency cesarean section, a very, very difficult time. And I was back on the computer. My legs were not unfrozen yet from the epidural. And I was on the computer trying to finish a project that I was working on that had to be done. It had run over. Like it was a big, big project for a big website here, a town-based website. And it just had run over with all of the different people involved. And so, that was just a super amount of stress. And then I had to take it easy over a couple of years. I didn't. That's part of a whole other area. But like now, I'm really struggling, I guess. I struggle to find my feet with the sales part of things, because before with big projects, referrals work, like you can get 1 or 2 referrals a month or 3 or 4 referrals a month, and that's you set, whereas definitely working the way I do now, when it's definitely more startup based people at the earlier stages, you need a lot of referrals in order to be able to keep a family of 4 going.
Yes.
So this is the area I really want to focus on this year for myself is getting more comfortable with being, with creating offers and delivering them. Whereas now I tend to just, it's actually a ridiculous situation. I don't even have testimonials up on my website. Like I had this old website and trying to make it into the new one. I just, again, our own websites get left to the very end of the pile.
Well, but that's the funny thing too. I think like having the ideal website does hold a lot of people back from going out there and making sales, because that fear is like, what if they go and check me out and the message doesn't match what I'm saying? And I'm like, this is all communication, guys. And we as people, especially in this age of like putting screens between us and not really getting good at talking to people and being discomfortable. We're just going to make up words, uncomfortable. Talking to other people and dealing with hard feelings and hard conversations, right? You
Yeah.
can get better at all of this and you can manage that. And you
Yeah.
could just tell people how this works.
Do the simple thing. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, this is something that people come to me the whole time for when we're talking about websites, and it's like I need to get the SEO and all the rest, and I am just like stop, 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 stop. Okay, you do not have the budget for SEO, and even if you did, it is so in flux right now. And like, yes, we're going to create a super website for you right now, but it is still just a business card. You know, it
Yes.
is a big old business card. No one's going to go there unless you bring them there. And that's the
Yes.
fact of the matter. And I've had so many people say, you don't need a website now. You just need to, you know, get on LinkedIn and do your thing. And I really push back on that because I think if you're someone who is really confident already and like happy to hop up onto TikTok and like get going, great. Maybe then you don't need a website. There's none of my clients that fit into that mold. Also,
Mm-hmm.
if you have a huge network already and you have huge connections and you only need one or two really big corporate clients for the year, yeah, you probably don't need a website then. For nearly everybody else, dang, if I'm going to take on a service, the first thing I do is look for their website. It does
Yes.
not need to be perfect, but if they
Mm-hmm.
don't have an online presence, I'm very unlikely to buy, you know, because I don't trust it then. I'm like, okay, they haven't invested in themselves or they're not taking themselves, I suppose, seriously enough. And I know that that's
Mm-hmm.
a logical fallacy. Of course, they've invested themselves, in other words. Of course, they're taking themselves seriously enough. They're trading, they're doing their thing. But I do think that having that one little piece of space online gives you so
Mm-hmm.
much credibility. But
Well,
especially
I
for my
love,
clients, really does is that it sets them up themselves because they've sat down and done the work of
yes.
what is my business? Who is it for? Does this reflect me? And then they just feel really confident when somebody asks them about their business, even if the words won't come out when they're in public,
Mm-hmm.
they could say, you can just check me out here, you know, at
Yes.
my website. So it just gives that beautiful ground to stand on.
Thank you for sharing all of that because I know I have definitely said on the show before I'm one of those advocates. Probably in another time, if we weren't talking like this, would have been like at loggerheads, like just not agreeing on this. I don't know why I'm being awkward about it. Whatever. All right. So I still tell people you don't need a website, but I think that's because a lot of the people that I deal with are copywriters and or beginning stage creative entrepreneurs who will use the website as a stalling mechanism. Like they have
Yes,
fallen for the narrative that
100%.
you need to
Yeah.
build this great big old funnel. And
Yeah.
once you get all of those pieces right, the business is just going to fall in your lap. And to those
Yeah.
people, I say, those are the ones that I specifically say your website does not matter right now. You need to go out and
Yeah.
figure
Yeah.
out how you can help people. Don't worry about your messaging if you don't even know what you're offering to people. Go talk to somebody,
Yes.
listen for an opportunity to help. Like when they say, oh God, I just really, I hate writing emails. That is the bane of my existence. And you go, well, I happen to write emails. Is that something that you need help with? Let's talk. We can figure out, maybe
Yeah.
we can work together, right? A sales conversation can be just that easy. And then after you work with a certain number of people on those emails, you start to notice patterns. And now you can go back to your website and be like, okay, so with my last few clients, we worked on this problem, this problem,
Yes.
this problem. Now you've got the words for your website.
And that's exactly why I changed that. There was a good few reasons, but that was the biggest reason why I moved to co-creation because I was creating these beautiful WordPress sites. And honestly, they frightened the shit out of my clients to go in there and make a change. They're like, I'm going to break it. I've spent all this money. I'm going to break it.
That's
So
me.
I was like, this is not right. Like, this is just not right. This is crazy. Like, as far as I'm concerned, because like, it's just my personality. I have to get in, I have to break stuff and make it to know. And I need to do that. It's like the way my brain works. Like, I have to be able to take it apart or I don't want it. You know, it's like, I can't have something that's just like pristine and sitting there, like to be admired. It just doesn't work for me. But with co-creation, the point is to get them to go in there, like, because I can see all of these clients that I have, they think they know what their business is. They think they know who their customer is. But until you've been in front of your first year's worth of clients, you don't know. So yes, get a website done, but my God, make sure you can get right in there and make changes because every client you take on is going to change who your customer is, what your business is, who you think you are on a fundamental level. And honestly,
Exactly.
there's no excuses these days because you can pop on Canva now and 2 clicks, you can have a website on
Yeah.
Canva as part of your Canva plan. And like, they're great, you know, they're not a full website, but it is enough
Mm-hmm.
to get you started. That's enough for me to hire you, is knowing that
Yes.
you're professional. You've just got this page. It is done. You can do that for free right now. So
Exactly.
in the free plans. Yeah.
Exactly. I co-sign that because I think that that's the wheel spinning that I'm talking about exactly. Like somebody that's going, "Oh God, well I can't get out there and get business until I spend at least $5,000 creating this
No, no, no,
website
no.
and getting all
Yeah.
of my business cards and stuff like that." I go to events and people ask me for my business card and I tell them I don't have one.
I
And they're
don't
like,
have one either.
you don't have a business card?" Like, yeah, okay. So I'll be honest. If you give me your business card, I'm probably going to throw it away because
Same.
my my brain doesn't retain information that way. What I would rather do is have a really deep conversation with just a few people, and my
Same.
brain etches your face into the database, and I go, "Oh, I know this person." Even if next time we walk into the room and I'm like, "What is your name?" I don't like my brain yeets names for some reason, but I always recognize
Yep.
faces. Oh my God, I remember you. Remind me what your name is real quick. It's so good to see you. Give me a hug.
Totally.
Like, much rather do that than pass around business cards. I'm like, I'll look at a business
Yep.
card a couple
Same.
days later and go, "Who the hell was that?" I
I
don't know.
totally, yeah, that's exactly like I find them every so often around the place. I'm like, gosh, I don't even remember who that person is, like, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the conversation. And honestly, when it comes to the networking, it's LinkedIn because I connect to them and then I hear the message again and that reinforces who that person was. Like, so like, I would rather when I have a chat to somebody, I don't really care about your business card. I just want to connect to you. And,
Yes.
that's what all a business is, isn't it? Just
Mm-hmm.
connecting to you. And that's what a
Yeah.
website does. It really gives you a point of connection and it really
Yeah.
helps you refine your message and it helps you refine who you are. And that again, I keep running back to like, I swear to God, on my own best sales card here, I should record this. But bring it back to co-creation again,
Yeah.
to stop that procrastination. It is done in a day. And I mean
Mm-hmm.
it. Like we hop on, a 4 hour session and it is done in that 4 hour session. We
Yes.
press publish at the end because there's no way that I want you to have a perfect website. If it's perfect, you are not going to touch it. And you're going to be like,
Yes.
this thing is so perfect, I can't touch it. I need the clients to be in there making changes. I need them to be in there
Mm-hmm.
adding new clients up, feeling like that they can change this copy because it doesn't represent them anymore. They just have to get that fluidity and then add to this
Yes.
when the time is right then. And you
Mm-hmm.
know what your message is. Oh my God, there are so many amazing designers out there. There's so many amazing custom web designers. Move to those agencies who will take your hand and create something kick-ass for you. Go
Mm-hmm.
there. There's just incredible
Yes.
people for all stages of this process. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just right stage, right service.
Oh yeah. I think that brings it full circle perfectly. Like if you're scared of AI, connection is the thing. Like that's going to become even more important as technology gets more advanced. Being able to build and maintain real, actual human relationships. And I'm not just talking about superficial, we're all smiley, happy all the time, right? The people that know me, the people that see this side of me, the podcast host, the chipper happy one, don't know how many times I've canceled recordings because I'm having a bad day, or like one day I pinched my shoulder and I was in severe pain. Like I can't bring this person out on those days. I'm not shiny and happy
Yes.
all the time. But I also know that the relationships I've built, I've put more into those relationships so that I can withdraw a little bit every once in a while when I need a little bit of grace and understanding. Me having a bad day doesn't destroy anything.
Yeah. I'm the exact same. And it's great that this is becoming more socially acceptable now. Like you don't have to show up as business, business, business all day long. Like,
Yeah.
we do want to do business with people, and people have families, people have lives. Contrary to popular belief over the last 100 years, people have hormones. People have
Yes.
like your body reacts differently on different days. There's external circumstances, and life is messy, and that's why business has to be sustainable. And I don't
Yes.
mean ecologically sustainable, although that would be great too. I
Mhm.
mean sustainable for you, for your family, for your community, for everything.
Yes.
It's just crazy that this has become this hammer on the head thing
Mhm.
when it should be something that's so beautiful, so sustainable, and so connecting every
Yes.
time.
Ugh. And you can't tell me that perfection is what people admire.
Nope.
Like nothing on this earth, like even if you look at the canvases underneath the Leonardo da Vinci
Yeah.
paintings, you can
And
see
that's
how
what
many
makes them
different layers.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's layers. Onions have layers. People have layers. We're going to quote
Yeah.
Shrek to wrap up this episode. All right, before I go all the way down the rabbit hole, Please, this has been fantastic. Tell us a little bit more about how we can learn about this wonderful website and a day process.
You can just go to my website, fancy that, which is just orlafitz.com. So yeah, everything is up there, or it should be up there. It's up there imperfectly,
Yes.
but have a chat. The main thing is just have a chat, because I do think that I'm sure there's lots of other people doing this too, but it is a relationship. And so it's about just having a chat and seeing if you feel comfortable with me, if I feel comfortable with you, and then you create something great. So it
Wonderful.
is just about having a chat and seeing if it's the right road for you. And if it's not, I generally advise people then, it's like, okay, I don't think this is the right road for you right now, but I think this may be, and that could be just me explaining what you do to get it up yourself, like using things like Canva and the rest of that. Or it could be saying, no, I think you're at that next stage. You need to work with an agency. You need to work with custom designers. You need to move to that stage. So it's very much about figuring out what's the right path for you. But yeah, all my stuff, links to all of the many myriad things that I end up doing are on orlafitz.com.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure there is a clickable link in the show notes. Thank you again for being such a wonderful guest.
Thank you so much.
That's all for now. If you want to keep that kick-ass energy high, please take a minute to share this episode with someone that might need a high-octane dose of "you can do it." Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the Permission to Kick-Ass podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you stream your podcasts. I'm your host, Angie Coley, and I'm here rooting for you. Thanks for listening, and let's go kick some ass.